Hi there. Welcome to C Programming Tutorials. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn about the relationship between arrays and pointers. In the past few tutorials, we first learned about arrays, and then we learned about pointers, and now we will see how we can use pointers to access the elements of an array. Okay, so before we start, as usual, I would like to let you know that it would be really nice if you could subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet, or you become the fan of the Facebook page Awesome C Programming Tutorials in High Def, if you haven't become the fan yet. And I would also really appreciate if you could give me some feedback on these videos. If you like the videos, please click on the thumbs up button, and etc. It just lets me know, encourages me to keep on making those videos. Anyway, so let's get started. So we learned that we could basically, for example, if we were to define an array of integers, we could basically do something like this. This basically defines an array of integers named x, and it has 100 elements. Now there are, it has 100 elements, but the size, obviously it occupies some space in the memory. The size of the memory that it occupies, or the amount of memory that it occupies in RAM, is basically depending upon the size of integer. So there are 100 elements. Each element is an integer. Usually, excuse me. Usually, an integer is 4 bytes long. One integer, one int variable. If I declare something like int a, this takes up 4 bytes in memory. So this must be taking 400 bytes in memory. Okay, each element taking 4 bytes. Now let's declare a pointer to some pointer variable. So how do you declare a pointer to int? This is how you declare it, right? Int, and then you use the asterisk, and then you basically write the pointer name. You could name it anything you want. I usually tend to name pointers starting with small p, and then you can name after that whatever you want. So let's call it px, because subsequently we will see how we will be able to use px to manipulate the elements of an array. So how do we do that? Let's see. Next, what we could do is we could basically assign. So let me bring up my pen here. Let's try to see what happened here. What we did is we declared an integer array. Oops, sorry. An integer array which has 100 integers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, the subscripts of these variables, these elements, is 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on to 99. Right? Now the name of the array is x. It's part of memory, computer memory. In the previous tutorials, I drew the diagram vertically. This time I'm drawing the diagram horizontally. Each element here, from here to here, is basically 4 bytes long. Okay. Now this is the start of array x, and it has some address. Okay, it has some address. So this is what this guy did. This statement here, this is what it did. It resulted in the allocation of memory enough to store 100 integers. Okay, which is basically going to be 400 bytes total. Okay, starting at some location, we don't know. It really depends, whatever address it is. Now this, what this did is basically it allocated memory, enough memory, one little piece of memory in space, in memory, basically, that would allow us to make it point anywhere, somewhere else in the memory. So actually, even though I've drawn it, this is visualization of what's going on here. Okay, so this is px, and it also exists in this memory here. Okay, it's not like outside the memory, it's somewhere in the memory. Okay, somewhere else in the memory this px has been allocated. Okay, and all what it does is basically the size of px is what it is going to store. It's going to store an address. Okay, now address of every location has the same size, so it really doesn't matter what type of pointer variable it is. The size of the pointer variable is the same in any given computer. Okay, usually it is also 4 bytes. Okay, usually it is also 4 bytes, or it could be 8 bytes also. Alright, now this pointer, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what is the size of pointer. The way we visualize it is basically we draw a square and we have let me see why it's not working. Oh, I see. So we draw a square, and that basically and make up an arrow coming out of it. Okay, and the value of this pointer, which is an address, will basically determine which location it is pointing to. So let's keep this in mind, and what we are going to do is we are going to make px equal to the address of this location here, of this array. Okay, and how do we do that? It's simple. Okay, let's see. The way we are going to do it is basically we are going to say is equal to the address of x. Now how do we do this? How do we get the address of x? Well, normally when you define x like this as an integer, we saw in our previous lecture, the address of x, this is how we do address of x. Okay, if it is a single integer, but here it's an array itself. Remember, the name of the array actually represents the address of the starting location of that array. So in our case, in the diagram that I just drew, it would be the address of the element 0, or the start of the array. So the name itself is an address, so you don't do this, %x. Actually, you don't need to do it. You should not do it. Do this, px is equal to x. Basically gives that basically stores the address of the start of the array, or address of the array, into px. And after this, what I could do is I could access each and every element of px, because at this point, if I draw it again, at this point what has happened is this is our x, right? Px is pointing to the element 0, and I think I'm running out of here, so let's continue this tutorial in the next video. I would really appreciate if you could subscribe, and if you like this tutorial, you could basically do a thumbs up on that. Thank you so much.